This is a New York Muscle Radio Network production.
Hey there, guys. You're listening to the Bikini and Barbell Show, the #1 resource for bikini-ready fit chicks. Welcome back, ladies, to the Bikini and Barbell Show, brought to you by the New York Muscle Radio Network. This is episode 11, and on today's episode, we're not only going to talk about fitness, but we're going to go over blood work and how important it is. Now, I know the thought of needles is scary, but the benefits are truly worth it, and today we're going to find out why. I'm your host, Laura Bevilacqua, and with me today I have my brother, Anthony Bev, and Pete Kacharian. What's up, guys? Hello?
Why are you laughing? Waiting for Big Pete. I was waiting for you to say something, man. For once, I was trying to be polite. You know,
man, I don't.
This podcast.
I don't even. Yeah, I wait my turn, man, on this one. I know you always go first.
Yeah, the beta. That's usually what happens when a beta is around an alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pete, you're quiet on this show.
Yeah, well, I am like I guess I'm treated like the third wheel over here. I think I'm just here to hold down the entertainment part of the podcast.
Nah, man, you're well loved somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
Your mom will always love you, man. She'll always love you.
That is true.
Actually, Laura, you know what's funny? Pete's mom and our mom are friends. You know that?
Yeah, she told me actually something. Did she go to her job or something like that?
Oh, this is news to me.
Oh, no, maybe not. How do they even know each other? I remember her telling me, but I wasn't sure how.
I think they spoke on the phone because they do work for the same company.
Yeah, something like that. I knew it had something to do with her job.
Small world, right?
Yeah. How long have you guys known each other now?
What's it been?
When's our anniversary, Pete?
I don't know. What's it been, like 3 years? 2, 3? 3.
Yeah, it's a 3. Wow, 3 years, man. That went fast. I earned the medal, I think, being friends with you for that long.
Lots of gains made in 3 years, man.
Ain't that the truth, though, huh?
Yeah.
Look at this network. We have a whole network now. Who knew that first day that you came in to apply for the job with me that I remember sitting you on the other side of the table over there, and you get your faux hawk and your jeans on. I'm like, oh, God, here he is. Big Pete Kacharian.
You knew when that faux hawk walked in, you're like, oh, a lot of clients coming in now.
Yeah. Look at this douchebag. And then I saw your arms, and I'm like, all right, he lifts a little. And then we started talking about a coach that we both had, and then we both hated, and I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, that's how we bonded. We ripped somebody apart.
Yeah, and hence New York Muscle Radio Network. But
Yeah,
I knew of
crazy.
you before that, actually, though. We spoke a couple times before that.
Well,
That was when
way back.
Yeah, bodybuilding.com forums used to comment on my shit all the time.
Yeah, Italian player.
Yes.
Italian player 30, I think, right?
Something like that, right?
Yeah. And then Pete 89, right? Wasn't it Pete 89?
Yeah, Pete 89, yep. That was me. Big Pete.
Oh, God. Laura, so you never even came up with the bodybuilding.com. You don't even know what that is, but we're talking about a forum. Do you even know what a forum is?
No.
Isn't that crazy, man?
That's crazy. That's like where everything began on the forums.
That was like YouTube for us.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, really?
Probably be like the equivalent of Instagram. So where you guys learn everything now is Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is. We were on forums where people would.
I would say it's closer to YouTube. I feel like I learned more from the forums than I did. Like Instagram, I don't learn anything from.
But what is it? Like just questions?
Just a message board where people could chat with each other on there.
Oh, okay.
You know, but people
so it kind of is like Instagram.
Yeah, people can hide behind their avatar. So you're just talking to a picture who you don't really know who the person is. So a guy could have a picture of, I don't know, a bicep, but he never lifted in his life, and he's giving out fitness information. And, so you don't really know who you were talking to that much back then. But me and Anthony, we were both two young guys from New York who were posting on there like religiously every day. We had logs where we keep our workout journals and everything like that. So there was a few of us that were hardcore way back before Instagram, YouTube, and all that stuff.
Do they still have that today on there?
Yeah, but nobody uses it.
Yeah.
It's all kids
useless
asking
now.
Stupid questions.
Yeah.
So Laura, what's up with you? I mean, this is the Bikini and Barbell Show. What's going on with you? See, you always got to do that, man. Put the light on you.
Hey, listen, I was quiet. I didn't even say anything. You brought me into this.
I'm being polite.
You guys ready for the snow we're gonna get?
Ah.
I'm actually trying to plan out what the hell I'm gonna do. Right? Like Anthony, you're
Well-
lucky. You have a gym. You're set.
Yeah, I'm good. Well, maybe what you should do, because I think it's supposed to start like they said the snow's supposed to start tonight at 12, something like that. So you're probably better off going in the morning straight to the gym.
You think I'll make it? It'll be all right.
Maybe you should just go to the gym at 12:01 because it will be tomorrow.
True.
So you
That
didn't
is a
miss the
good point.
workout.
Pete, you actually have a gym in your garage too, right?
Yeah, it's more
Like-
like it's more like a dungeon, but I guess
Yeah, with rusty weights.
yeah. I
His
can
weights
get
are
a
so
workout
rusted, they're
in there.
orange.
There's more rust.
They look like someone who self-tanned.
Yeah, there's more rust on the weights than there is actual weight.
Remember when we worked out in there, Pete, and we thought the weights were gonna crumble?
Anthony probably hated it.
Yeah, it was a good thing I got a tetanus shot before we did that workout because one of us probably would have got hospitalized from it.
Yeah, we stopped working out our hands. Literally, I'm like, Pete, look at my hands, and they were orange.
Oh.
Because he didn't want to go to the gym. I was like, there's a gym we could go to. It's 5 minutes from my house. He's like, let's just work out here. I'm like, all right, you want to work out with rusty weights? Let's do it.
It's hardcore, man. It was hardcore.
It was, yes. It was, if anybody, nobody listening to this probably knows what I'm talking about, but it was, remember Dorian Yates' DVD?
Dude, this is the Bikini and Barbell show.
Yeah,
well, I'm talking to you, but so anybody who wants to see
I'm
some
talking to
hardcore
you.
training videos, go watch Dorian Yates' A Week in the Dungeon, and that's how I work out in my garage.
Yeah.
It actually
Laura, what-
sucks because I'm trying to think like I have to call the gym to see if they're closed or they're open. Oh,
Yeah, it does suck.
yeah.
Whatever. You can always afford a rest day. How many days are you working out now?
5. And I
Ah,
rest 2.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, so I could always replace it. I go Thursday instead of.
But I know that feels, though. I hate missing a workout. I hate
I
it.
hate it. Yeah, I hate it.
Is 5 days less for you than what you've been doing? Were you doing 5 or were you doing 6?
I've always been doing 5. I've done 6 and then I went down to 5. So yeah,
You like 5 better?
I kind of like. I like if I could do 7, I would, but
Mhm.
I like 6 honestly. But I think
I want to
my
do
body.
7.
I know.
I
wish
recover.
could.
I recover better with 5. I think 6
Yeah,
is
that's what I
pushing it
was
for
gonna
me.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with the 5, I can recover better.
See, but if you talk to Anthony about that, he doesn't hear that. He doesn't listen. 6
Yeah,
is
that
6
doesn't
is better than
see-
5. 7 is better than 6, right?
Absolutely, man. I really want to work out a 7th day. I just can't figure out how to do it without any overlap. So I don't know what I would do in that case. But I
Well,
really
you do
would love to do
cardio.
7. I want to make progress. And cardio doesn't count.
Yeah, I guess so.
So what else is going on with you, Laura? Any new powerlifting meets in the works? What else is new in your world?
I actually been looking at the USAPL, the scheduling and stuff like that. So we'll see. Hopefully, sometime in the fall, be preparing for that. Definitely, yeah. It's so weird because being without it, it's like I don't know. Not that I don't know how to train, but it's like always looking forward to that meet. Is like you know that feeling.
Yeah, it's nice having that in the background. When there's nothing in the background, it's almost like you're kind of like,
Exactly.
eh.
Yeah, but then I go to the gym and I'm like, no, these lifts matter. Like I have to still hit my numbers.
You know what's the weirdest thing is especially when you compete in bodybuilding or physique competitions, and you're training for 12, 16 weeks for that, and you're prepping, you're losing weight. The second the show is over, and it's quote unquote off season, you just don't know what to do with yourself.
You're mindless almost.
You feel
Yeah.
so weird, like leaving your house, not worrying about when your next meal is or
So true.
specifically what time you're gonna get to the gym. It feels weird to say like, all right, if I don't go to the gym at 3 o'clock, I'll get in it at some point tonight. And you
Yeah.
your behavior kind of changes, and it's really weird. It's like you gotta give yourself a couple months before you feel normal again.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's such a depressing feeling, though. I hate
Yeah.
that.
Me too.
That's why it's good to have plans for when you're going to do your next contest, even if it's a long time from now. Even if you say you're going to take the whole year off.
Yeah, exactly.
Give yourself a rough estimate of, okay, next year this time I'm going to compete again. So you kind of have, you have a goal in the back of your mind, because when you don't have a goal set and you're kind of just going through the motions, you're not on top of it as much as you can be. And I think you get a little less motivated.
Yeah, and it's easy to fall off that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the Bikini and Barbell quote of the day. So this one is by Mark Anthony, and it is...
The singer?
I guess. Yeah.
My Baby You? Wasn't that the song he used to sing?
Oh, I gotta, because you guys ripped me on the last podcast that I wasn't on. I gotta throw one back at you guys because I was listening to it and I thought it was hilarious that neither of you knew who Wayne Dyer was.
I still don't know who he is.
Yeah, you guys, that's probably as bad as the Helen Keller one.
I know who he is now. He's a motivational speaker.
Well, yeah, after the fact.
Yeah, of course you would know that, man. You like all that
How'd you
mental
know that?
masturbation.
Yeah.
Everybody knows
He
Wayne
Googled
Dyer.
it, that's why. Nah, he Googled it. You're full of crap.
I never heard that name before.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, but he's Wayne Dyer.
Do you know who Mark Anthony is?
Yeah, the singer.
I just said that. What other songs did he sing?
I don't know what songs he sung.
What'd you say it was?
My Baby You.
Really?
Those are songs that he had, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, the quote says, "And one day she discovered that she was fierce and strong and full of fire, and that not even she could hold herself back because her passion burns brighter than her fears."
Was this from a song?
Maybe
It's
because
probably
it's
just the
also
lyrics.
and so maybe the lyrics. But I think that's a good quote because sometimes you have to just face your fears, I guess, and go for what you want to achieve. So
You jumping in, big guy?
To be honest with you, I didn't even hear the quote. I was still like laughing about the Wayne Dyer thing that I got distracted and I forgot to listen to the quote.
Repeat it for us.
all right. And one day she discovered that she was fierce and strong and full of fire, and that not even she could hold herself back because her passion burns brighter than her fears.
Okay, I like that one. Yeah, because it's true. I think a lot of people don't realize, and women especially,
not listening to anything.
Women especially, I think a lot of them don't realize what they're capable of doing. You know, the power that they do have to achieve what they want. And, you know, it's one of those things where in life eventually you come to terms with it and you kind of discover your own strengths. And I think everybody goes through a period of time before that happens for them. Some that happens earlier in life, some that happens later. But I think, eventually everyone comes around to it. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that quote. I think it's a good quote. I don't know if I have... Why did you pick it? I always like to know why Laura picked it.
I know. You always ask me this, and you always put me on the spot. Because
I'm curious, because it had to have meant something for you to pick it.
Because sometimes I do let my fears get the best of me, and I do let them win, and that's what holds me back from a lot of things. So I guess that just realizing that I have to be confident and face my fears. So that kind of, that's why I picked it.
All right, that was a simple enough answer.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the listener question. I'll read the question, so you can go ahead and read the thing.
Okay, if you ladies have a question that you'd like us to answer for you, just submit it on our website at www.newyorkmuscleradio.com/listener question, or you can call your question in at 508-687-2534.
Or you could text in. So you could also text in a number. So some people have been afraid to call in. They could text in, but we want them to call in. So ladies listening to this right now, yes, you ladies, dial that number, 508-687-2534. We want to hear your beautiful voice on this podcast, and all of our listeners want to hear it as well. So make sure you call that question in. So today's question, it's actually from a guy, but I have a shit ton of questions in the database here, but it's still fitting. All right, so today's question, it's from Chuck. I've been trying to find a good resource to use while tracking macros. I usually buy meat and fish from the butcher. Jesus Christ. From the butcher. So it doesn't have much of a nutritional label. So I go online for nutritional data. Unfortunately, the data varies from source to source. For example, the MyFitnessPal website claims 6 ounces of plain grilled salmon has 38 grams of protein. What website or reference tools do you use to track macros, especially when the food label doesn't really have much info? It's a great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. I was just going to say, because I hate that. When they don't, I usually put it down and I get something that does have the label because it's hard to tell.
So I want to say my answer, but I don't want the big guy to steal it, and I'm curious what his answer is. So go ahead and answer yours.
Well, if I have to go for an accurate measurement of anything, I could usually find it on the USDA
Well, he said
database.
He didn't say USDA database, but yeah, he said he looks at that stuff, and it's still one website says one thing and another one says another.
If you go to, I could give him the link that I use. It's actually a very hard link, but I'll read it out. It's ndb.nal.usda.gov. So that's the United States Department of Agriculture. So it has a pretty much a complete food database for anything. I've yet to search it and not find anything.
Wait, can you say that again?
Yeah, so it's the website. If anybody listening to this right now, type it in and take a look at it. It's ndb.nal.usda.gov. So it should take you to United States Department of Agriculture. So from there, you could pretty much search any food, and even different ways it's prepared. But like, let's say you can't find the nutrition facts for a certain cut of meat. It should be in there. Like, you won't have a problem finding that. If you were to just search a website that has nutrition facts, and you type in, let's say, eye-round steak, it might not have the certain cut or the certain leanness, and it might just give you a generic answer. You can get pretty specific here. So pretty much any food, maybe it doesn't come with a nutrition label when you buy it, search it on there. If you just buy a specific type of meat or anything that doesn't have a nutrition label, if you type it in there, you should be able to find it based on the weight and the measurements. That's what I would use if MyFitnessPal doesn't have it or anything like that. Or it's always a good place to cross-reference things to make sure.
So usually, my advice to you is going to be pick a source that you believe that sounds right. So if you're going to Pete's website and you want to use that as the telltale all, then that's fine. But what I was going to say is it doesn't really matter what the exact number is as long as you're consistently using that same number. So for argument's sake, let's just say, I don't know, whatever. For whatever reason, when I measure out my chicken, it's 1 ounce of chicken cooked is 7 grams of protein. Let's, for argument's sake, say that's what it is for me when I do it. Whatever. Every single time I put chicken in, it has to be the same. And that's how you're going to have accuracy when you do it. Because every time I use chicken, it'll be the same number. It doesn't matter if it's 7, 8, or 9 grams per ounce. As long as it's consistent over time, that's what you're mainly looking for. So, yeah, you want the correct number. But even if it's off a little bit, it doesn't really matter as long as you're consistently using that same number. It becomes a problem when you use, 8 grams per ounce one day and then 10 the next time. That's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah. And it's funny. This brings up this reminds me of a funny story, and I don't think we ever talked about this on the podcast. So I should.
Let's hear about this hilarity.
I definitely want to share this.
Here we go.
Yeah, no. It's funny. It's just to show you the way that me and Anthony, our minds work. But this was a couple years ago when we were both working in the gym, and we got into a debate over what the actual macros were for. I think it was 93 lean ground turkey when it's cooked. Because for anybody who doesn't know, when you weigh something raw and then cook it, the measurements are going to be different. So the macros are going to be different because now you're talking about a cooked meat. So generally, the fattier the meat, the more the macros are going to change because you're going to lose a lot more fat and a lot more water out of it. So it's going to be a big difference. And I was dieting at the time, and I was plugging in the macros for 93 lean ground turkey. And Anthony was telling me that the macros in MyFitnessPal are accurate, and I'm looking at them, and I said, there's no way that's accurate for cooked. For raw, that must be. And we could not find the macros for cooked measurements of lean ground 93 lean ground turkey. So, you know what Anthony told me? He says, call up Purdue, the company Purdue, to find the macros.
I've done that before.
Yes.
They actually answered to me.
Right.
Really?
So I called. This is while we were in the gym. I was on hold with them for about a half hour. Finally, I get some woman on the phone. I don't know where she was from. She was not from New York. That's for sure. And, my question is, hi, I'm calling because I want to know what the nutrition facts are. Do you have them available for cooked? And the response I got out of this woman, she was so confused. I tried explaining it to her for about 10 minutes, and then finally I had to just give up. Because her answer at the end of the day was, yeah, the nutrition labels are on the back of the package.
Oh my god.
I'm like, no, you don't understand what I'm asking. But so we never actually got an accurate answer from Purdue as to what their nutrition facts are cooked.
You just go by the raw, right, then?
So in that case, yeah, you're much more accurate if you base that on the raw. Something like a chicken breast, like let's say even Purdue does this with the chicken, it'll say on the back of it the macros are whatever it is, 26 grams of protein for 4 ounces raw, but it makes 3 ounces cooked. So you can use either of them. Now, so if you want to measure it raw, measure it more, measure it cooked, whatever is easier. But for something on a package that just says the measurements raw, you're going to have to look into something like the nutritional database that I gave you to find the cooked measurements. But if they don't have it, then just do it based on raw if you want to be accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go so crazy. Like I said, as long as you're consistent with it. So if you're not sure and you make a 4-ounce burger and you cook it, and it ends up being 3 ounces, whatever, you just plug it in for 4.
Yeah, I actually think that was a great question.
Yeah.
That was a really good
reason
question.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, man.
No, the reason that was so important that day was because we were dieting and I was eating like 16 ounces of it. So that's like for something that's a few grams off in fat for 1 ounce, it's not going to make a big difference. But when you're eating a pound of it, it was like the difference, in 10 or 15 grams of fat. That's a lot of calories, especially when you're dieting.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember, too, you also got lean. So it didn't matter, clearly.
Right. But I remember actually that day my weight went back up, so I knew that the macros we were using were wrong. But it's okay because the next day I fixed it.
Guys, this is why we started a podcast. This is like the true shit that we do.
Yeah, I'm not making this up.
Now that we're together, me and him are together. How many hours do you think we're together a day, man?
I don't know, too much.
Yeah. But, like, this is what goes on in our world every day.
Yeah, this is a true story, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what people do without MyFitnessPal. Like, what did you guys do before all that? How did you track everything? Like, that's probably the worst.
Yeah, true story. I used to have a pad, and every day I would write. Yeah, because there was no MyFitnessPal. I would have a pad, and I would write down what I ate for each meal. And then at the end of the day, let's say I was eating 5 meals. By meal 4, I'd add up all the macros for the 4 meals and see what I had left over from meal 5.
That's insane.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Wow.
Oh, my God, that was horrible. And then I had another one. After the paper and pen, I had something called Fit Day. Mm-hmm. And that was horrible because you had to literally go on the computer.
Yeah, that was worse.
Substitute things. Oh man, it was worse. But you know what? It made it convenient because I always would lose the paper.
Yeah, but you know what it was? It's not like now where you have a smartphone or you have a laptop like with you all the time.
So easy now.
You'd have one in that year. Most people had one computer in their house, or if you had multiple, you had one, and it was in like whatever room it was in. When you go eat, you're not sitting right next to the computer where okay, let me log on to Fit Day and add it. So you'd have to every time you eat. All right, let me go to the computer now and put it in.
Yeah.
Or put it on a pad.
What I used to do is I used to just make it for the day before. So let's
that's
say
easier,
like for tomorrow,
so
the day already would have been done. So I would have known what I had to do was just write it down what I had to eat. But then the problem was when I wanted to make a substitution, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I have to go back and.
Now we're so spoiled because you can on MyFitnessPal you could scan literally the label.
Yeah,
so you have no excuse
I couldn't do that. I couldn't even do that. I would have to make a custom food. My Fit Day, actually, true story. So we all know about My Macros Plus from our good friend Jason in Cali. He actually made that app, and me and him are really good friends. And my Fit Day database is so big. I gave him my Fit Day database to insert into My Macros Plus because it was so big. So a lot of the stuff in there, I think I like to say is mine. But yeah, that's how much shit I had in my Fit Day. I mean, so much custom food. That was horrible. Oh man, now that I think about it, how horrible was that? Then finally, Fit Day came out with an app, but it was just so terrible. It was worse.
Yeah. It didn't even work on the phone.
No, that's what I'm saying. It didn't even work. What the hell? Then MyFitnessPal showed up and just took over.
Yeah, I actually was a little resistant to using MyFitnessPal for a while because I'm like, listen, all these things suck. The pen and the pad doesn't lie, But then eventually I realized it was easier.
All right, ladies, we're going to take a quick beauty break and we'll be right back.
Looking to take your physique to the next level? Interested in working with the best coaches in the business? Hear what New York Muscle Radio clients are saying.
The best coaches I have ever had.
They coached me through a post-contest reverse diet and all the way through to an off-season strength program. Since working with them, I've added 55 pounds to my squat, 50 pounds to my deadlift, and 20 pounds to my bench press.
I have never had as amazing of glutes as I have, training with them.
I know now that I don't have to suffer eating low carb or low calorie. I've gained so much strength and metabolism, all while staying relatively lean, thanks to them. I would recommend them to anyone.
So I can say, no matter what your goals are, you're guaranteed to be stronger, healthier, and let's face it, better looking.
Ready to join and take your physique to new levels? Visit NewYorkMuscleRadio.com now.
Nice, Pete.
What?
I saw you checking out that girl's butt.
What? I was just checking out her yoga pants.
Pete.
I was thinking you'd look really good in yoga pants.
Uh-huh.
I was like trying to check out what brand it was. Like I was looking at her form on deadlifts. They were all messed up.
Do you think she has a nicer butt than me?
Well, it definitely doesn't look like a pancake.
Did you just call my butt a pancake?
Well, I mean,
What can I do?
you gotta try New York Muscle Radio's Glutylicious program.
Glutylicious.
Yeah, you'll finally get a celebrity booty, like all the other girls following the program.
Fine, I'll do it. But don't get jealous when other guys check out my glutylicious ass.
Glutylicious, your guide to getting a celebrity booty in 12 weeks. Now available exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
All right, ladies, we are back. Today we're going to dive into what us women should look for when it comes to blood work. We have on with us today the New York Muscle Radio Network, Dr. Austin Marshall. Hi, Austin. Welcome to the Bikini and Barbell Show.
Hey, Laura, it's great to be here with you. I really appreciate the invite.
How are you?
A much
I'm
better
doing
looking
good.
host.
What, Ant?
I said a much better looking host than I was, right, Austin?
Oh, man, that's true. And I mean, even before we get started, we're on, what is this, episode 10 now of Bikini and Barbell Show?
This is 11.
11. I mean, Laura, really, you should take so much pride in what you've done. If just coming all the way from episode 1 to now, I mean, you've been really awesome. So I really think you're doing a good job. So I think you should keep it up from your favorite closet Bikini and Barbell listening show.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to think that I have something to do with that, Laura.
Yes, he actually helped a lot.
Yeah, no, you guys are doing awesome.
So, since this is the first time I'm meeting you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm a primary care and internal medicine PA, physician associate. So essentially we're trained very similar as MD and DO. We kind of get a watered down version of med school, and we go through that process in about 2.5 to 3 years without more of an intensive residency program afterwards. So I've been practicing in practice for about 3-4 years now. I got bored, so I went ahead and did a PhD in clinical nutrition, which was kind of an optional thing afterwards. So, I really just fallen in love with just a healthy lifestyle and fitness as a hobby and a way of living. And that's how I got caught up with you guys. And the rest is history.
Yeah, Austin's been one of our clients for a while now, and we've watched this guy go through a huge transformation. So, he lives this stuff, and it's nice that we said this on the podcast that you came on New York Muscle Radio when you were on for blood work with us. It's nice to have someone who actually walks the walk,
Yeah, exactly. It's in total, I've lost probably about 70 pounds since started just in general listening to you guys, and then got a little bit more serious with it when we started incorporating the coaching services, and now we're just trying to get stronger and look good.
I think that's actually awesome. Like, I'm sure you have such a busy schedule by being a doctor and everything that you still find time to train.
Oh yeah. I mean, you got to. People say they don't have time to train, and it's you wish you could just get it through their heads. It's like you don't have time not to train. I mean, it incorporates every little aspect into life. So, I used to use the same excuse, and I'm still kicking myself for going through training saying I didn't have enough time to work out. But I mean, we all have time. We can make it work. So, just got to make it happen.
Hey, Pete, we forgot about you, man.
Yeah, you forgot about the co-host over here today. I don't know what I am at this point when we got 4 on the show.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah,
Like
so I'll just sit back and listen to this one.
No, speaking of, man, I think we're all curious. What's going on with the love life of Pete Kacharian? It's just been silent.
Oh yes, it has been silent. It's been a long time since. What was the segment called, Anthony? It was the famous one that everyone wanted.
The one with, I don't even remember, man. That was so long ago.
Yeah, apparently that was for a while. That was like the most asked about thing. That was the topic of discussion. I mean, if you guys want me to bring it back, we will. But I figured after a while we put enough of that out there.
Didn't you hear we're putting him on The Bachelor?
I know that would be a really good idea. I mean, me and my wife actually watched that show, so.
Oh my God, me and my wife too. I got stuck into watching that show and actually getting kind of addicted to it. So wait, did you watch this season?
Oh, it's terrible, but yeah, I did.
Doesn't he pick who he wants tonight, actually? Or
I believe it's actually on right now.
Oh, it is. It is. Isn't that not? Yeah.
Oh, so who did she pick?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
All right, so let's start this off. So, Austin, we know that women are different from men when it comes to their hormones. So what should women look for in their blood work that will help them build more muscle and burn more fat? And how is this different from men? I mean, like I said, you came on the New York Muscle Radio podcast, and we talked about pretty much blood work for anyone in fitness in general, but we talked mostly about testosterone in guys. So how is it different for women?
Well, kind of as a baseline, if you look at women in general, they out-compete us and beat us in every single metric. I mean, they really are, I think, in a whole lot of ways, smarter and stronger and much more sophisticated than us. And that kind of shows up a lot of times in the lab work. And so that could be a good thing and a bad thing. Ways that it's more complex is just there's a whole lot more, in general, a whole lot more hormones and application as far as, different things that kind of commingle. And then it's also obviously the gift of life with the menstrual cycle, which adds a whole nother dimension of emotions and, just hormone complexity on top of it. So, in general, I mean, it's a good idea just to say at least that we're looking at very similar type of lab work, but for women, more of a hormonal profile comes into play that has a lot to do in our space as far as fitness and putting on muscle, losing weight, burning fat. So in a lot of ways, females are kind of stacked against themselves with just kind of our general physiologic makeup, which is kind of something that we have to account for. And, especially on you all's side of developing a diet and a training philosophy. So in general, there's, the same kind of things that we would look at in terms of male blood work and, just general blood markers as far as, blood counts in a CBC, basic metabolic panel, thyroid function, hepatic function. I mean, everything as far as our basics are all pretty much about the same, but then that extra level of complexity where things change even on a daily basis is where we come into the realm of actually measuring hormones and fluctuations based upon different menstrual variations. And that's where it gets fairly complex, where most primary care docs and medical providers really just aren't even messing with it because a lot of times we don't really know what to make of it. And, it's just adds more complexity to the overall care of, whatever patient's coming in. Obviously, unless you have, some direct symptoms that we're trying to track down and understand.
So now I guess, based on a woman with during that time of the month, because I know with, for instance, with clients, sometimes a woman will think that she's not losing any weight, and it's only because different times of the week she'll literally be holding so much weight, so water from due to that. Do you notice anything hormonal? Like, is there a hormone? What's the reason for that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a very large hormone base for that. So, I mean, first, you always have to look at just in general, women are designed to hold more fat, and obviously from an evolutionary standpoint, it's a good thing. They we need them to carry more fat, to care for our young and that sort of thing. So that actually carries with it a lot of hormonal activity. Adipose tissue isn't necessarily just blank tissue in our body. It has physiologic consequences. So a lot of times there's extra androgens and estrogen that has quite a large impact on not only fluids and electrolytes, but also hormones in general as well. So that's kind of how, if you have someone who male or female who's 100 pounds overweight, their chemical makeup is in a lot of ways a whole lot different working with them and compared to someone who's 10% body fat and has quite a bit more lean muscle tissue. So that's probably one of the bigger impacts as far as fluid shifts and retention, and why for especially females that scale weight is probably not the most important metric. I mean, especially compared to males, it's probably a little bit more reliable, a day-to-day variation in males versus females, just based on essentially just fluid shifts from hormones and estrogen being the main driver there, as well as progesterone as well. Progesterone kind of it goes along with the estrogen and can kind of antagonize that. So that's the major physiologic basis of the difficulty with weight.
So Laura, just so we could swing this back to the listeners, when you were dieting down for your powerlifting, you were really taking your diet seriously. Did you notice huge swings in weight on a daily basis, or because you weighed yourself every morning pretty much, right?
Yeah, mostly every morning I would weigh myself, and there would be changes time to time, and I would never really know why. I would really do good on my diet, and then it would just swing like back and forth.
What kind of weight were we talking about? Like 1 pound, 2 pounds? Like what?
Yeah, like 1 to 2, maybe like 2 pounds.
I actually think that's kind of low for a woman. I mean, I've seen higher swings, especially when it comes closer to that time.
Oh yeah. Hell, I've seen higher swings in myself. I feel. I mean, it's. I mean, especially with Laura. I mean, you're nice and lean, so it's. I guess probably about what you would expect. It's not like you're carrying, a whole lot of extra tissue or have other medical reasons as far as why you'd have, excess kind of ratios of hormones.
That's a good point, actually. So you're saying basically that has to do more with the amount of fat that you have in your body, so that the higher your body fat percentage, the more you'll have that swing with water.
Yeah, I mean, that's a kind of general, broad way to say it. I wouldn't say it 100%, but yeah, I mean, that's definitely one factor that goes into it.
So we know that testosterone is key to building muscle in men, but does it play a role in building muscle for women? Because we know that women, even on the higher end, the woman comes nowhere close to a guy even on the low end.
Oh yeah, so it's actually pretty interesting to get a hormone panel in females. One thing that a lot of females think is that they don't want any testosterone at all because it's it'll make them more viral, meaning they'll have a deeper voice, they'll develop more acne, they'll develop hair growth, and that can happen when there's specific deficiencies in a lot of hormones, like if there's issues as far as PCOS or other deficiencies.
What's PCOS?
Oh, sorry. So polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is one of the, especially when we have kind of these insulin-resistant patients who are, very overweight. They might have quite a lot of issues as far as menstrual issues. They'll have, a lot of times it's kind of a hyperinsulinemic state where their insulin levels are high, and that goes a lot to do with the imbalance between their estrogen levels and their androgen levels, and so they kind of appear to be on the high testosterone range when it's really more about they just don't have enough estrogen because their ovaries have a whole bunch of little cysts on them that kind of render them ineffective. So that's, regardless of the point, that's kind of an extreme case, but the main thing that we got to remember is that women still do have testosterone, and that testosterone actually serves a pretty large function in their body, and it goes into a lot of things that we all know testosterone really well so it, goes into mood and goes into just essentially, feelings of well-being. It goes partly to do even in the female sector of libido, sexual arousal. So it's a lot of why whenever a woman goes through menopause that we see, upwards of sometimes a 50% drop in testosterone because their ovaries, which is one of the sources of testosterone, not just estrogen, but also testosterone in women. And so, a lot of times that's part of why they feel so crappy at menopause is not only just the complete drop in estrogen and that violent swing, but also testosterone has a lot to do with that. And it's kind of under-recognized, really. Standard Western American doctor isn't really going to actually be looking for that specifically. We'll blame it, 100% on estrogen when, it has a lot to do as well with, just kind of the ratio between both of them. And, women obviously don't want the level that men have, but even just a baseline level is a good, important thing for feeling good and training well as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually just sent you this in an email. My wife got her hormone levels checked, and her testosterone was low. It was on the lower end. It was off the charts low. I think the range, I'm definitely going to butcher this, but I think the range is like 4 to 20. Yeah. And my wife was like a 2.9, so it was pretty low. So automatically, I'm like, I don't really know what to take of this. So that's why I was like, we got to get him on the podcast because I'm sure there's other women that get these blood results back that want to know, especially for a woman that's into fitness.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'd really be interested to get, some full work on her in particular. But, having a deficient level to the point where, hers, I think it was even like it was so low that the lab didn't even have, specific enough tests to pick it up. So, that really can impact one's quality of life in, a pretty big way as far as, libido and just energy levels, tiredness. It's funny because the doctor just kind of shrugged it off too, which I kind of thought was weird too, because then I Googled it, and of course it says what you're saying right now. So I was like, that kind of makes sense. Because my wife, she works a very stressful job. She has a very hectic schedule. So, but then when I read the results, I'm like, I wonder if that's the reason why. Yeah, she's got to deal with you too, so. Yeah, but
I was gonna say something very bad, but I'm not because my sister's on the line here. So I'll tell you later. I'll tell you in an email, Austin.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, the hard thing though is that once you get a low level, is it to the point that any kind of doctor would recommend getting on testosterone replacement as even a super light dose as a female? Most people are probably going to say no, because estrogen is in large degree the hormone of choice, and especially in females. So it's not really something that necessarily that we target to increase in females. There is some wellness clinics that are very much into that, and I'm sure there's a few primary care doctors that are willing to write for that sort of thing. But it is kind of off label. So it's what are you going to do once you find abnormally low levels? You're probably just going to direct them back towards y'all's advice of train, exercise, get good sleep, and hopefully you can build up a little bit of your own levels, and that can kind of normalize over a few months. That I think would be probably the more reasonable treatment, at least at first.
Yeah. That makes sense. Now, just out of curiosity, not that I'm going to hand my wife some Taxidrol here, but if hypothetical situation, if she was to take something like that, would that actually work?
I have been wrestling this question, and you didn't even ask it directly, but you know what? Based on some of the, the preliminary kind of stuff that we've gotten back with it, as far as, lab work, it just might. But obviously it'd be very off-label use, and I'm excited to get my own lab work back from it to see, what my levels look like and report back. But I don't really see a huge reason why it wouldn't particularly work. But based on what it's done so far, possibly.
Now Anthony got some ideas.
Yeah, I'm gonna start putting some of the Taxidrol in her cereal in the morning. You said increases libido, right, big guy?
Yeah, that's what we're saying, right?
So I have a question to kind of bring it back a little bit with the hormone ratio with testosterone and estrogen, because we know, at least for men, obviously higher testosterone is going to relate to, more muscle mass, better strength gains, and even higher estrogen to some degree is actually going to help build muscle. A lot of men don't really pay attention to that. With women, is that kind of the same idea as far as both of them playing almost, to a larger degree, maybe for men, testosterone, and a lesser degree, estrogen. But for women, are both of them, would you say, equally as important in that department?
Well, definitely testosterone in men and women is going to take the spotlight as far as the major androgen that, binds to all of the various tissues in the body. So even in females, testosterone is still going to have the lead role as far as muscle growth. But like you said, that estrogen does play, I would say, probably a secondary role in both male and female. Obviously with there being such a higher level in women to begin with, it is also antagonistic in a lot of ways of testosterone, and it can peak for binding. So, it's all about the ratio, and then therefore you have downstream effects from essentially having the Goldilocks of the balance of testosterone to estrogen, especially in female clients. I would think would be a whole lot more important than just total testosterone or total estrogen altogether.
No, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we've mentioned this 1,000 times on this podcast. We've done it 1,000 times on New York Muscle Radio. But some women, and I'm sure there's going to be some women listening to this right now, think that as soon as they pick up a barbell or anything heavy, that they're just going to blow up and they're going to look like Big Pete. If they start doing curls, they're going to have arms like him. Can you, and since you're a doctor, people listen to the doctor. They don't listen to us. They listen to the doctor. So if the doctor says it, it's got to be true. So can you debunk that for women then?
I mean, I've been trying to look like Big Pete for like 2 years now, and I'm not even close. So, that's 100%, and it all goes back to the physiology of that ratio of total estrogen that, like I said, it antagonizes testosterone. So in and of effect, as long as a woman is not injecting testosterone or taking a large amount of testosterone, it's not going to be an issue, because essentially the estrogen is there to kind of protect that and protect over proliferation of a lot of muscle cells. So it's y'all are 100% right with just in general as far as testosterone and women and not getting bulky. I mean, just proof is in the pudding. Sprinter versus a marathon runner. It's just I feel like there's no more obvious example than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Talking about levels, actually, how does a woman's iron level affect their results, and what role does menstrual have in affecting their body composition?
Yeah, so iron levels, or just iron in general, it's a specific mineral that we get from a lot of animal products contain various degrees of iron, and the reason why it's important is that it is one of the basis for forming red blood cells, and red blood cells are the things that carry oxygen around our bodies. So it's absolutely crucial for all of us to have an adequate amount of iron. So our body, one of the main kind of factors, or one of the main things that we always go back to in medicine, is one thing that's called homeostasis, which is essentially, we need it right in the middle, and not too hot, not too cold. Same with levels of just about everything. Hormones are important in this philosophy. Iron is important in this philosophy. So, we want an optimal amount of iron so that your body is able to make more red blood cells, and therefore, get oxygen and nutrients around, oxygenate your tissues. And so in the terms of muscle building and training and strength training, if someone has low iron stores in general, that definitely could be a hamper to recoverability. So how well that you're able to recover after sessions, as well as just in general, how well that you're able to train and the intensity to which that they're training. So, something that would be fairly common in a primary care setting is if a woman came in with just terrible, heavy periods, over a week or so of just heavy bleeding. And if you have that on a regular enough basis over a few months, that woman will become iron deficient. And, a lot of times you'll have to replace it in forms of dietary iron. So, sometimes you can get it in prenatal vitamins. Sometimes you have to supplement it separately. But one of the biggest issues with that is that it can be quite constipating. So, a lot of times I'll write an iron supplement and I have it to automatically pop up to take it with a stool softener so that you hopefully mitigate that side effect of it. But, it definitely for women, it's critical part of just metabolism and in general, and the menstrual cycle on a monthly basis is part of why a lot of women are even mildly deficient. So it's something that you'd probably have to bring up specifically to whatever healthcare provider that you're seeing, so that they can order a lab to test it directly. Because a lot of times we'll just get a CBC, which is like a blood count, just an overall blood count. We can tell a few things from that, like how big your red blood cells are and, what degree of concentration that, how much of it you have in your system. So something that we don't always test for is what the total iron is and how well that iron is binding and that sort of thing. So, if you were interested in it, or if you feel like you were having symptoms of, having low iron stores, that definitely can be related to fatigue, just kind of general anemia in general. So it definitely would be something worth bringing up if women are dealing with it. And if you take it with vitamin C, it actually increases the rate of absorption. So a lot of times, we'll tell them to take it with either a vitamin C capsule or some emergency or some orange juice, as long as it fits your macros. It'll help a whole lot more. So that's
one of the things that I'm thinking about now with increasing iron levels. If you're saying that the iron supplement is giving constipation, what about something like a liver tablet? You ever seen those before? I mean, that was a big supplement back in the day. Yeah.
As far as to try and increase iron?
Yeah, because basically it's freeze-dried liver, and they come in tablets. I'm not sure if everyone listening to this is familiar with that, but there's a lot of products like that on the market, and they're high in B vitamins. It's like the same thing as eating the liver, pretty much.
Yeah, I would assume probably the biggest barrier for that is just the whole reason Western medicine hasn't maybe gotten behind it is because it's a supplement and it's not something that we can prescribe. So, a lot of times we'll write it off and we'll say, well, we don't know what's in it, and kind of use that excuse. But I mean, I would just break down how many milligrams of iron, see how many that it, states that it has. Obviously, you're at the mercy of whoever's putting whatever in the capsule.
Unfortunately, New York Muscle Radio is not making those yet, so we won't know what's on the label.
Exactly. So it just depends on the numbers there.
Every time I get blood work, my iron is always so low. It's crazy. Really? Yeah.
And you're saying that if your iron's low, it decreases recovery ability, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, in general, yeah.
Yeah. Now that you said that, it's crazy. I'm like, wow.
My whole family, both my sisters and my mom too. Mommy too, right, Laura?
Yeah, I think so.
They all suffer from low iron. So I guess they all should be taking an iron supplement then.
Yeah, and more importantly, to figure out why. I'm trying to think just off the top of my head, hereditary kind of iron deficiency stuff, but I'm really not coming, anything to mind. Yeah, if you want, Laura, we can maybe, catch up about that and kind of go over it and see what else.
You also, you mentioned, what was it? Anemia, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you mean by that?
So anemia is just low overall blood count. So whenever we get a blood profile back, it comes back with two major things that we look for. And one of them is called the hemoglobin, and that's like the amount of red blood cells that you have in your system. and then we're able to use a few other markers to show how big are those red blood cells, and then how the bone marrow is kind of responding to that. So that's one of the ways that we're able to kind of isolate what exactly is going on in making the blood counts the way that they are. So, and women of childbearing age and having heavy menstrual cycles and that are slightly anemic, it's almost, it really depends on what the actual number is, but it's almost the norm for a lot of those women to just kind of be in this chronic, very, very mild sort of anemia that usually is kind of no big deal, and it's not necessarily something that needs to be treated unless the hemoglobin levels start dropping below 10 or 11, 10, something like that. Usually the cutoff for most labs is around like 12. So I don't know where you fall in that, but it's a fairly common thing, because what other animal bleeds for 1 week out of the month, every single month, without fail for the most, but besides pee.
I heard too that that's also one of the things, I guess, depending on the person, but that's one reason for women that they're actually a little bit healthier than men is because they go through that period of actually, because of that cycle over and over again where they are losing the blood like that. Is that true, or is that kind of like a myth? I was always curious about that.
I think they're just smarter than us in general. I think we're all pretty stupid to begin with as males. So, they definitely have a whole lot longer life expectancy. Even a lot of it goes back to estrogen. Whenever you look at, as far as when do women, because, what is the number one thing that's going to kill us? It's heart disease. And as morbid as that sounds, it's something that we all need to be, even at, 20s, 30s, need to be thinking of, because, hopefully if we can minimize our risk throughout our life, we can kind of push that off as long as possible. But the rates of heart disease are staggeringly a whole lot more in favor of men until about menopause age, and then the rates start to sort of equal up with each other. And that's kind of one of the leading theories, is that it has a whole lot to do with the estrogen, which is in a lot of ways protective of the inside lining of our vessels and that sort of thing. It essentially is kind of all coming back to that, and part of why females live a whole lot longer, or so it's thought.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting. So just really quick, going back to the iron level thing again. So would you say, as a general rule, it's good for any woman, someone listening to this, to take an iron supplement in addition to their regular multivitamin they take a day? I know obviously it's different depending on the person, but for someone just listening to this, is it important for women to supplement with an iron supplement?
So I don't think it's a bad idea. What a lot of times at all, as far as like a prophylactic, meaning like a preventative way to kind of blanket go about it, if there's not major menstrual issues, and obviously there's not any big reason that they couldn't have iron. There is such thing of iron overload, which usually there's more obvious signs. As long as they don't have stuff like that, then I usually will recommend, even if they're not trying to become pregnant, a prenatal vitamin with iron and folic acid, just as just kind of a general catch-all. And a lot of times, if their diet is deficient in animal products, or they have even like occasional heavy periods, a lot of times that can kind of compensate and keep that iron level in about check.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. Now, I think the next question, the ladies will actually be very glad to hear the answer to this. So from a doctor's point of view, why do most women have a hard time getting lean compared to men?
Well, I hate to beat the dead horse, but I think a lot of it is coming back to testosterone in general, and is one of the reasons why men just have a whole lot easier time than women. And it really is true. I sometimes, throughout my weight loss journey, I've sometimes just felt bad. I've had so many patients that have come in that have just kind of hit that wall, and I preach to them, flexible dieting and, sustainability is key. And it really does seem, though, that females really do have a whole lot harder time, just from an anecdotal standpoint, as far as losing weight. And I think that comes down to a lot of different things, but whenever, especially when they're actively menstruating, there's a huge shift in hormones, as far as estrogen levels, and a lot of the kind of just fluctuation in estrogen leads to a lot of these mood swings, and just emotional kind of eating, which I think is also playing a lot into it. But even if you accounted for a lot of women, just compared to men, the number one thing I think it's coming back to is testosterone, and then that has a direct correlation as far as what their lean body mass is. So in general, Big Pete's going to have a whole lot more lean body mass than Laura, and so he's going to have just a higher basal metabolic rate in general. Yeah, that's true. He can't curl anything.
So I just want to touch upon something because you mentioned it very, very shortly. You mentioned about like the emotional eating part of it, and I've literally had women tell me, "No, you don't understand. When I have my period, I need this." So that's just basically, I don't want to say I mean, you're the doctor, you can get in trouble for this. We'll send you all the hate mail, but is that just a mental thing then? So when a woman tells me that, I could just tell her, "No, that's all in your head," or is that something physiologically like, okay, yeah?
So
I've had a lot of women say that they swear by that.
So I look at it as it is something that it's just like when we have like, and I was even in this myself. I mean, there's such a huge impact as far as satiety hormones and cravings. I mean, obviously it depends on their personality to begin with too. If they're kind of more of the resilient type that's able to just kind of be self-deprecating in a lot of ways, but no, I think there's definitely a physiologic basis for a lot of it, and I think it's probably a whole lot more complicated than what we want to try and pin it down, saying, oh well, it's the estrogen or the progesterone or this hormone or that hormone or the fluctuation or the balance of. I think it's all multifactorial, and it's not a free pass, obviously, to say, okay, whatever, just chalk that week up every month and call it even. But it definitely is it just like you said. I mean, there's some women who just have to have a bar of chocolate, and it's it's part of it.
And this is the beautiful thing about flexible dieting, like you mentioned.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Because then you're able to fit that stuff in. I mean, yeah, that may take up a lot of your day, but at least you'll have your craving kind of settled. Laura, do you feel like that when it's that time you get more hungry for other things like that?
Yeah, and I was actually going to ask you, because you know how some women crave that either sweet or saltiness? Does that make a difference, or is it kind of just, because I always go for the sweets more than like the salty?
You're saying like, is there a reason why from a medical standpoint, like in terms of like hormones?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not that I'm aware of. It is kind of interesting how, some folks are just salty folks and some are sweet. Like me and my wife are total opposite. I'd rather, a burger and fries than, a froyo, but, she's just the opposite. So, I don't know. With 100% certainty, I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't think so. I think it's kind of just, your general preferences to begin with.
Yeah, it just depends on the person.
Yeah. That's my educated guess.
Yeah. Testosterone always gets all the credit when it comes to strength and muscle size, but there's plenty of women who are seriously strong, lifting more than even most men. So does that mean that testosterone plays less of a role in overall strength than we actually think?
Yeah, I think in women, it all comes down to every single woman has or should have testosterone in their body. The degree to which it is antagonized by stuff like estrogen or other if it's the degree of aromatization, which means the testosterone gets converted into estrogen, that kind of process is paramount to begin with. But it's definitely something that I wouldn't look at it as far as estrogen is I'm kind of stumbling exactly with a great succinct answer here, but testosterone is definitely still playing the role, but estrogen is kind of the balancing hormone to be politically correct. So it's part of the reason why I listen to the Bikini and Barbell show, because, on New York Muscle Radio, they, talk about their 300, 400 pound squats. Meanwhile, I'm getting excited about my, near Laura numbers. And oh yeah, we're about the same. That's pretty good.
Nah, Pete's near Laura's numbers too.
No, she's going to beat me soon. She's going to pass me up. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, actually, based on, even for guys, I mean, Pete's testosterone is almost double mine, and I'm 3 times as strong as him. So I guess the answer to that question is no. Testosterone doesn't really play a role in strength.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what does though. Like physiologically, what is that then?
I mean, and that's one of the things that I feel like we come to a whole lot in medicine, is that we can try and be the nerdiest of nerds and try and, figure out with all the white papers in the world of, this exercise physiology or this, hormone response. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like, well, whatever. I mean, it just kind of depends on, the training intensity and, how much effort that everyone's putting into the gym, and how often that they're falling off of their macros, and, the overall mindset, I think, is a whole lot more important than, what one number says on a piece of paper, because, it's always a snapshot in time. And, it sometimes can help to kind of understand, why things are the way that they are. But, training heavy and hard, even for females, is, I mean, what we preach, what you guys preach on, even the Bikini and Barbell show. So I think that's definitely, no matter what, the most important.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great answer to that. But just in general, what are some things that women should look for in blood work?
So when we're talking about our general audience, which is, 20 to 40, is that about right?
Yeah, and then you occasionally get the cougars that come in here that are a little older than 40 that want to just hear Big Pete's voice.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, so, for, women of childbearing age, there's kind of, just the staple labs, kind of in between ages, 20 to 30. There's not, lab work and, kind of annual visits in a lot of ways is sort of an optional thing. Now, that is obviously different for just general gynecologic care, doing pap smears and, going to more, the OB-GYN route and, staying on top of that. But as far as blood work, is the biggest thing is, just a general panel of what's called a basic metabolic panel, which is essentially like, the electrolytes and the kidney function. Then we have, in general, like a CBC, which is all of the blood counts. That's where we can pick up all the anemia that we were talking about earlier. Other stuff is, depending on the woman's size, is usually like a lipid panel, which, can kind of break down what her cholesterol is and triglycerides and, what hopefully, the intent to get all of these labs is to identify stuff that's making you less healthy, and that, we can hopefully change early on in the course of, of their life and prevent, all of the bad stuff that happens as far as, heart attacks and strokes and diabetes and kidney disease. So, staying on top of it while we're young, it isn't 100% necessary a lot of times, but it is kind of like one of those things that is setting you up for success and, many, many years of healthy living. And, it hopefully should save you money in the long run. I mean, that's really the whole idea behind primary care and family medicine, is that, we care about stuff like blood pressure and your cholesterol, because we're trying to find it early and treat it. And, that hopefully that treatment can be done with just, living a good, healthy lifestyle and not necessarily having to resort to medications. But, that's, one of the most important things as far as just general lab work. Other things that I would be looking for is, depending on her size, maybe like a hemoglobin A1C, which is monitoring for diabetes. We could be looking for thyroid function, especially if there's difficulty, losing weight or fatigue or, bowel issues. That might be something to look into as far as thyroid function. In general, that's kind of a pretty standard basic panel of, when you go to the doctor to get lab work, that's, kind of a few of the basic things. And then obviously you can be as in-depth or, hands off as you want to be. And you really just have to find a good provider that you trust, and you can kind of, discuss, your training life and, what you plan to do if you're planning to compete, that sort of thing. So, a lot of it is specific to the patient itself, but I would say that's probably a pretty good springboard to start with.
Awesome. This has been great. Oh, go ahead, Laura.
Oh, I just wanted to admit that my worst fear is getting blood work done.
What is it? The needles?
Yeah, I don't know, and just like I'm always like, is it over? Is it over? Are we done? Are we done? It's the worst.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, look.
There's sometimes some of the labs will use a little spray, and it like numbs up the skin beforehand, and you can throw that on there right before, and it's not as bad.
Oh, okay, can I ask for that actually?
Yeah, you could. I know Big Pete always has to, and then before they give
this is the first time I'm hearing about this, and I might have to ask for it next time.
Pete, are you afraid of needles?
No, I'm not. You know what's funny though? When I was a kid, and they used to do the finger one. That one I used to cry when I was a kid. I would get those but
when you were a kid only?
No, I mean I haven't gotten it since I was a kid, so maybe if I got it today I would cry still. I don't know, but the big needle going in doesn't bother me. That little finger thing used to just that was too much for me.
You guys want to know the funny thing though is that I've probably only drawn blood 2 or 3 times. Like you learn it once, and once you figure out how to do it, like we hardly ever do it. So you definitely don't want me sticking you. Like some people just have little tiny veins, and you can drink a whole lot more water before you go to the labs, and sometimes that can help vasodilate open a little bit more. But yeah, some people are hard sticks, and sometimes they need like an ultrasound probe. So yeah, it can be a pain.
Yeah, I could see that definitely with some people, depending on their body fat level. Because usually when I go, they're like, "Oh, you have great veins."
Yeah,
I test to that being because my body fat's definitely lower than the average person they see.
Yeah.
All right, Austin. Well, it was great having you on here. We appreciate you coming on the Bikini and Barbell Show. So you're officially the first guest of the Bikini and Barbell Show. We forgot to mention that, Laura.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You guys are doing awesome. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what's the next New York Muscle Network production. I want to be on the inside.
We'll let you in. We'll definitely let you know.
All right, guys.
All right, Laura, go ahead.
All right, ladies, that is all we have for today's episode, and I hope you enjoyed learning and took in all the information we gave you. And I hope by listening to this podcast, you ladies learn self-confidence and take fitness and training to a whole other level. Remember, we are strong, independent women, and we can achieve anything we put our minds to. This is Laura, Anthony, Pete, and Austin with the Bikini and Barbell Show. And always remember, strength and beauty can exist in the same body with training like a man.
Enjoyed this episode of New York Muscle Radio? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, New York Muscle Radio.